What is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down all of the XFL games from Week 2. Now, before I get into the games, I actually just want to give my thoughts overall on the XFL thus far. So Week 1 came, and that shit was fucking electric. I was so excited. Football on after the Super Bowl. It is beautiful. This week, the hype to me kind of died down. Now, this has nothing to do with the games itself, but it became like I wasn't really looking forward to it becoming Saturday to see my Guardians play, or I wasn't looking forward to watching it really on Saturday. But once the games came on, the inner football fan in me kept watching, and my eyes were glued to the fucking TV. Now, obviously, guys, that is just to do with the fact that I think that there was so much push towards the XFL Week 1. There was so much hype, and then it was pretty good, and then Week 2 was also pretty good as well. That is just my thoughts on that. I do think it was a bit less of something that I was really pulled towards, but I ended up obviously going and watching all these games because football interests me, and any type of football, as long as it is pretty good, will interest me. Now, the biggest thing I want to talk about here from the XFL Week 2 is definitely these reviews, guys. I'm telling you, the way that they review these plays and they're just these calls, they're up in the booth, it's very responsive. They're telling you everything, they're showing you everything. It's just amazing. This week, I feel like they cut back a little bit on those on the field interviews that were kind of just jumbled all over the place, people talking all over each other. This week, it was much better in my opinion. Maybe I just missed something, some parts I was in the bathroom or something, or I was getting a drink, but at the end of the day, I thought that the games were very good this week as well. So the first game here we're going to be talking about is the New York Guardians versus the DC Defenders, and the DC Defenders at home gave it the dirty dick to my New York Guardians. Now, at this point, the Guardians were 1-0, and the Defenders are 1-0. Now the Defenders moved to 2-0, and the Guardians are 1-1. Now, we have a bit of a controversy here with Mr. MVP Matt McGloin. McGloin, 8 for 19 for a 42 completion ratio, 44 yards, and he threw 2 INTs. Now, the biggest thing to come about Mac McGloin was really not his play. It was necessarily how he was feeling on the sideline. He looked pissed off. He looked fucking mad. He looked like he hates the coach. He hates the offensive coordinator. He looks like he hates everyone on the goddamn team. So that is something we have to look forward to for Week 3. What happens with Matt McGloin? Do they sit him like they did in this game and go with someone else? Do they try and resolve these issues? Do they put the offense more in Matt McGloin's hand, call more plays that Matt McGloin would like? Or do they go ahead and say, fuck you, McGloin, we're going to go with Mr. Williams, who went 4 for 8 on a 50% completion ratio for 51 yards, no touchdowns, and no INTs. Now, like I said, guys, this game was all defenders all fucking day. This game was a certified ass whooping, a certified bent over, fucked in the ass without the use of any lube. Now, Cordarrelle Jones, 23 completions on 37 attempts, 62% completion ratio for 276 yards, 7.5 yards per attempt, 2 tutties, and 1 INT, as well as running the ball one time for 14 yards on the ground. Now, this Jones guy looks like he's probably the best quarterback in the league. Actually, there's a second one that we're going to speak about later who is also very, very good. One of the top players in the league. Now, the rushing game for the DC Defenders is still a bit of a share. It is really a share. Pumphrey, 12 for 52, looks great out there. And then Presley, 11 attempts for 32 yards, a solid game out of him. Obviously, Pumphrey had the better game out of those guys. For the receiving core, the ball gets spread out a lot on all of these teams. Tompkins led the target total for the DC Defenders with 9 targets, 6 receptions, and 92 yards and 1 touchdown. Hayward also ended up scoring a touchdown, 1 reception, 1 target, 6 yards, and a touchdown. Ross, this dude looks like a beast. 5 targets, 4 receptions, and 95 yards and no touchdown. So a great game out of him. Pumphrey getting the ball on the ground as well. A solid pass catching back. Presley 2 for 2 for 9. So the backs on this team are very good at catching the ball. Now, for the Guardians on offense, there really is nothing to really say. Cook got the ball 10 times, running the ball for 39 yards. He's pretty much a workhorse back for that team. McKay on the passing game, 6 targets, 3 receptions, 0 touchdowns, 30 yards. And the rest of these guys, they really didn't do anything. That offense looked atrocious. Now, I am not sure, guys, necessarily if this is the fact that the offense of the Guardians is overrated because they played up against a shit Vipers team, so maybe the Guardians are shit, or is the DC Defenders the world beater in the XFL? The Defenders defense was zooming all game fucking long. They were pressuring the quarterback. It seems like, I don't know how to find those metrics. If someone can find them, leave them down in the comments. Tell me how many times he was pressured. It seemed like he was pressured on every single play. Non-mobile quarterbacks do not work in the XFL. It seems like a guy like McGloin, a guy who is a pocket passer who could necessarily succeed in the NFL, is not going to succeed in the XFL. I think McGloin will get better as the games go on if they continue to play him, but that is definitely something that is going to be in the news for week 3 of the XFL. This game, guys, if you leave your thoughts down below in the comments about this game, and let me know what is your guys' XFL team. Type in your team. Say, I like the Guardians, I like the Defenders, I like the Vipers, I like the Dragons, I like this, I like that. I might not even be able to name every team off the top of my head. So next game here is the Tampa Bay Vipers versus the Seattle Dragons. Vipers 9, Dragons 17. Now, if I'm being honest with you guys, the Vipers are by far the worst football team I've ever seen grace a gridiron in the XFL. This team is fucking atrocious. Now, you know what happened, guys? I told you they should play Flowers. They should get rid of this Aaron Murray fucker, play Flowers. You know what they did? They said, fuck you, Nick. We're going to play some motherfucker named Cornelius. 19 completions on 27 attempts, 59 completion ratio, 154 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 INTs. So better than Murray, but not that much better. Flowers, who was riding the pine, 3 completions on 7 attempts for 43 completion ratio, 18 yards, and 1 INT. So this Vipers team cannot figuring anything out. If they don't roll out Quentin Flowers next week, I don't know, or I think that's his name, Flowers. If they don't roll him out there next week, I don't know what to do. If you're a Vipers fan, you should just burn anything you bought from them, throw it out the fucking window. This team is a travesty, a national travesty to the XFL. Now the Dragons, Silvers put up a pretty solid game. He didn't even have to throw the ball really at all. He just went in there, threw it 18 times, 7 completions, 39 completion percent, 91 yards, and 1 touchdown and 1 INT. He didn't go out there and fucking break the world. He didn't go out there and be a barn burner, a world beater, but fuck it. Who gives a shit as long as he won the game? Now, my boy Kenneth Farrell got the ball in the rushing game for the Seattle Dragons 10 times for 45 yards. Mr. Williams, 11 attempts for 45 yards and no touchdowns. And Gardner, 10 attempts for 27 yards. So the Seattle Dragons are a run heavy fucking team. These motherfuckers, just like the Seattle Seahawks used to be, they run. They love running the fucking ball. And that is some type of football that we're not really going to be seeing very often in the XFL. A team that is really ready to run the ball that many times in a game that is, for the XFL, the game is very tailored toward the pass-heavy type of game plan, but the Dragons said fuck it, and they won anyways. Now, is that a testament to the fact that you can run heavily and win an XFL game, or is that a testament to the fact that maybe the Vipers are just fucking terrible, which is what I believe. Now, for the receiving game for the Seattle Dragons, 8 targets for Mr. Reynolds, 3 receptions and 87 yards. He scored the solo touchdown in that game. None of the other guys are even worthy of talking about. This Reynolds guy seems like the only guy on that team, at least for this week. Now, for the rushing game for the Tampa Bay Vipers, Patrick got the ball 14 attempts for 73 yards. A great game out of him. Smith, 11 attempts for 46 yards. Flowers, the running back, that is also the quarterback that I think that they should play, 5 attempts for 15 yards. Then a bunch of other guys. The passing game, this Horn motherfucker is pretty much a beast. His team is terrible, and he still goes out there and balls out of control every game. Or not out of control, but just puts up a solid game. 8 targets, 5 receptions, 51 yards. And these targets aren't looking beautiful that are going Horn's way. Trustell, 5 receptions on 4 targets, or on 5 targets, 4 receptions for 29 yards, and then a bunch of other guys were catching the ball. What I got from this game is, like I said, guys, this Vipers team is fucking awful. This Vipers team is terrible. This Vipers team stands no chance against any legitimate competition. I think the Vipers may not win a game. Based on how they look, the Dragons looked like shit last week, and the Dragons whooped their ass. Now, the Vipers are just a fucking joke. I'm not sure what to think about the Dragons. I think maybe they are a top 6 team. I mean, they're not the worst. The Vipers are by far the worst. So if you're a Vipers fan, I'm fucking sorry. The Vipers are terrible. Now on to Sunday's slate. If you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. Let me know if you guys are really liking the XFL, or if you guys are just feeling like you're just fucking watching it because it's the only thing that's on your television. So this is the start of the Sunday slate. The Dallas Renegades 25, the LA Wildcats 18. So I think that this game makes the Wildcats fall to 0-2. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the standings after the video. Not after the video, just at the end of the video. Renegades 25. I believe that moves them to 1-1. Some team was going to fucking win this game. My boy Cameron Artis Payne. If you guys watch the NFL, which I assume you do, you know Cameron Artis Payne, former Carolina Panther, 14 attempts, 99 yards, and 2 tutties. A great game from them. The Renegades like to run the rock, and they have a workhorse back, just like some of these teams don't have. You saw the last game where they were getting the ball 10 times to 3 different guys. Nope, the Renegades have their workhorse back, and that is Cameron Artis Payne. Lance Dunbar, also a former NFL player. I believe he was on the Dallas Cowboys. 6 attempts for 42 yards for him. And Landry Jones, the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who is now the Renegades quarterback, 4 attempts for 13 yards. Solid game out of Landry Jones, 28 completions on 40 attempts for a 70% completion ratio for 305 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 INTs. Param was the main wide receiver for the Renegades, 11 targets for 5 receptions and 76 yards and 1 touchdown. Crockett got the ball twice. Battit, I believe his name is, got the ball 9 times for 6 receptions and how many yards? 53 total yards. So a solid game out of the Renegades. This Wildcats team also, if I'm being honest with you, they don't look that bad, if I'm being honest with you. They might be 0-2, but their record, I think they're 0-2. If they're not, then fucking crucify me. Their record, I'll talk about it at the end, but they are much better than I honestly thought they would be. This week, this boy, Johnson, 18 completions on 34 attempts, 53 yards, 196 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They look like a solid team. This running back, Hood, looked very good last week, in my opinion. This week, he did not do as hot. 10 attempts for 31 yards. The Renegades defense looked like they were going to come out and play. This was a game that Vegas had it as pretty much a pick-em. I think one team was favored by 1.5 points, 1 point. That's pretty much a fucking pick 'em, at least in my head. I thought that this game was pretty solid. Now, for the LA Wildcats, their receiving game was pretty okay here. Spruce, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns from him, and 89 yards. One of the greater players of the week. My boy Smallwood, 6 targets for 4 receptions and 8 yards. And then a bunch of other guys caught the ball as well. Now, we're going to move on to the final game. A game that sucked at the beginning. A game that was dreadful at the beginning. A game that really I did not think was going to be high scoring at all. And then my boys flipped it into the next gear. This is a battle between some of the best quarterbacks in the game. The DC Defenders quarterback, he might be number 1 or number 2. This motherfucker, P. Walker, is a certified baller for the Houston Roughnecks. And that is nothing against Tamu, the quarterback of the Battlehawks. Now, he ended up throwing 2 INTs in this game, but his completion ratio was one of your wet dreams. 30 completions on 37 attempts for 81 completion percentage, 284 yards, 3 total touchdowns, and 2 INTs. An amazing game out of Tamu, but it was not enough. Mr. Walker, 20 completions on 31 attempts for 170 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 INTs for a 111 quarterback ranking. This guy is a certified fucking beast. Now, I will actually pivot back. It was either him or the quarterback from the first. It was him. This motherfucker threw a Pat Mahomes pass to score a touchdown. He went sidearm like Pat Mahomes, boom, because Pat Mahomes played baseball, in case you guys didn't know. This motherfucker threw a beautiful touchdown. It made me very erect. It was a great throw. Now, for the Roughnecks, they are not a very run-heavy team at all, I noticed. They like to pass the goddamn football. Butler got the ball in the rushing game 7 times for 28 yards and 1 TD. Walker, the quarterback, ran the ball for 27 yards, and then some other guys ran the ball. The receiving game, Phillips is a beast yet again. 10 targets, 8 receptions for 63 yards and 3. Not 1, not 2, but all 3 touchdowns that were in the receiving game. Obviously, Butler scored the other touchdown, and then Lewis got the ball, 7 targets, 4 receptions for 50 yards. Holy got the ball 5 targets, 3 receptions, and 41 yards. Now, the Battlehawks did not play bad, guys. You have to understand this. The Roughnecks went out there, and they won the game, but this was a very close game. I think that the Battlehawks are definitely a very good team. Definitely their quarterback is very good. He's probably number 3. Right now, I got either Walker or, what's this guy's name? His name is, I'm sorry, guys, I forget names. Cordarrelle Jones is probably number 1. For me at the quarterback position. Number 2 is this Walker guy, and number 3 is Tamu. This was a battle of 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league by far. Some of these other quarterbacks don't look like they can complete a goddamn pass. Pearson, 11 targets for the Battlehawks, 9 receptions, 50 yards, and 1 touchdown. Washington, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 77 yards, and 1 touchdown, as well as my boy M. Jones, the running back, with 1 touchdown in the passing game for 25 yards. Jones carried the rock 16 times for 44 yards and no touchdowns. Christian Michael, our boy from the Seattle Seahawks, 15 attempts for 38 yards and no touchdowns. And Tamu rushed the ball as well and ran that shit in. So 4 total touchdowns for Tamu. A great game from him. Now, guys, we're going to move on to the portion of the video where I talk about the standings. I show you the standings, and I give you what I really think about all of these teams. If you guys have enjoyed the video thus far, please, please, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below, because every week we're going to be having some XFL breakdowns from the previous week of games. This comes out on Monday. Maybe next week, if you guys are really loving this, I can release it on Sunday after the game ends, if I am not too busy hanging out with my friends or hanging out with anyone, or just frankly I'm just too fucking lazy. So let's get into this right here. Week 2 standings. Now, the XFL East and the XFL West. 2 fucking divisions in this. It's not very complicated. Right now, the 2 teams with the 2 undefeated records are the Houston Roughnecks and the DC Defenders. They have 7 touchdowns for and 3 touchdowns against, and the Roughnecks have 9 touchdowns for and 6 touchdowns against. I like the way that this looks. They got the plus minus of the touchdowns. It looks beautiful. I'm just going to scroll down here to make it easier so you can see everything. The East is on the top and the West is on the bottom, obviously. Now, the Battlehawks are 1-1. The Guardians are 1-1. The worst 2 teams in the league right now are definitely the Vipers and the Wildcats. The Wildcats defense needs to figure out what the fuck to do, because their offense does not honestly look that bad. Now in the West, the Roughnecks are at the top at 2-0. The Dragons 1-1, and the Renegades 1-1, and the LA Wildcats 0-2. So both of these divisions are pretty much parrying. How, I don't even know how the fuck to say it, but they're pretty much the exact same thing. We got 1 team 2-0. 2 teams 1-1, and 1 team 0-2. Now, if I'm going to be honest with you, who's the first team that is shit right now to win a game? That's obviously the LA Wildcats. The Tampa Bay Vipers are fucking atrocious. That game, when they play each other, I'm not sure when it is. I wish I could pull up the schedule right here, but I don't. It's going to take forever to load. Because my internet's shit. We'll look at it next week. But the Vipers, actually, I will click on it right at the end. But the Vipers, they're just so shit, guys. Like, I don't think you understand. They are by far the worst team in this league. I think that right now, what will happen at the end of the year, based on what I've seen, the rankings for the XFL East right now, the DC Defenders, the Battlehawks, Guardians, and Vipers. I personally think that the Guardians may be able to figure it out. They are my home team. This is a home team bias potentially. The DC Defenders definitely will finish as the number 1 team in the XFL East by far. They're by far the best team. They have the best quarterback in the XFL, like I said, so I think they finish number 1. The St. Louis Battlehawks or the Guardians are going to be 2 or 3, and the Vipers by far the fucking worst. Now, if we look down here at the XFL West, the Roughnecks are dirty. The Roughnecks are nasty. I personally think they will probably finish at number 1. Now, we've only seen 2 games. These predictions could be completely fucking wrong, okay, guys? But this is just based on what I think. The Dragons, I think, are worse than the Renegades, in my opinion. I think we'll see the Renegades pass them, be number 2. Dragons might even be the Dragons. The Dragons may actually be number 4 in here. So I'm going to go with Roughnecks 1. I'm going to go with Renegades 2, Dragons 3, Wildcats 4. But I honestly think the Wildcats might be better than the Dragons. The 2 best teams by far are the Roughnecks and the DC Defenders. That's probably what we're going to see in the XFL Bowl, whatever the championship game is called. It's not the fucking Super Bowl. I think that the biggest dark horse team right now, by far, a team that I think actually may be actually very good, is the Wildcats. I think if they can figure out their defense, their offense might be able to turn it around. And Renegades are also looking pretty solid to me with Mr. Landry Jones. Now, I'm going to pull up the schedule real quick, and then we are going to and the video. So obviously here we have week 3. We have the Roughnecks versus the Vipers. This is going to be a absolute ass whooping. I don't see this game being close at all. I think that the Roughnecks give a dirty dickin' to the Tampa Bay Vipers. Now, the next game is the Dallas Renegades versus the Seattle Dragons. To me, this is a certified. This is probably going to be a close game. I think the Renegades end up topping them in this game. If you guys want to see a breakdown of why I actually think these things, because I'm not going to go super deep, leave it down in the comments, and maybe I'll post that video on like Wednesday or Thursday. The Guardians versus the Battlehawks kicks up the Sunday slate. I'm going to go with my Guardians over the Battlehawks. I think this will be a very close game, but if McGloin cannot figure it out, if McGloin's getting pissed off on the sideline, McGloin is pissed off at the coaches, I don't think we have a shot to win that game. And then the Defenders versus the Wildcats. The Defenders are going to smack them up and eat them for breakfast. Thank you guys all for watching this video. If at any point you ended up enjoying, if at any point you ended up chuckling, if at any point you ended up having a great fucking time, make sure to click that subscribe button down below. I love each and every single one of you. I always make sure to tell you guys that. Make sure you tell your family that you love them. Make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them. Make sure you tell anyone that matters to you that you love them, because any day could be your last. I love each and every single one of you guys. Make sure to have a blessed rest of your day, and make sure to come back tomorrow for another fucking video that I have no idea what it's actually going to be. It's probably mock draft, likely either that or my top 10 quarterback rankings. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. As always, goodbye, my friends.